space. Today in this presentation we're really going to specify on Drop Retirement Masterclass and figuring out when people are retiring from the state of Florida from the Drop program, what are some of the best things to do when it comes to retiring, that transition of working to finally retired, doing a rollover transfer and making sure that your money is working hard for you and reducing taxes as much as possible. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so perfect. So this is a disclaimer. Just as you know, in the financial industry, there's a lot of disclaimers that kind of tell you go and talk with your financial advisor, talk with your CPA, talk with your tax attorney if you have any questions at all. And so what we do is we help our clients make all the best decisions for retirement. But if you have someone that's, if you're not a current client of ours, then we can't make personalized recommendations, right? So that's just a general disclaimer. So a little bit about me. My name is Merle Winter. I've lived here in Florida most of my life. I was actually born on a military base over in Germany, but after we traveled a little bit, we moved back here to Florida. That's where both my parents are from. And so now my wife and I live here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida. And so as you can see here, I've been to a couple universities here in the state of Florida. And that's kind of my experience. We love Florida. It's a great state. And we're going to go over why tax-wise, Florida is a great place to be. So a little bit more. This is my wife. Her name is Kayla. Also Dr. Kayla, because she's a doctor of physical therapy. This is our little son. He's also named Merle, but we're calling him ML just because it's convenient. It doesn't get us confused, right? So this is a little bit about my life and about our family. This is our team. So as you can see, Massimo Teresi, he's also a native here to Sarasota. Here I am, and this is the rest of our team. So we've got 10 people total when it comes to helping our clients achieve their retirement goals. And also SWAN Retirement Strategies, it stands for Sleep Well at Night. So that's a little bit about us. We want all of our clients to sleep well at night, knowing that their retirement is in good hands and also their investments are doing well for them. So everyone probably has heard of Charles Schwab. So we are directly connected with Charles Schwab to where they're the custodian for our clients' assets. So anytime that you log in, if you're a client, you can log in and view your account, see what you're invested in, and it's a very nice platform. Also, Charles Schwab was one of the first platforms to reduce their costs down to zero when it comes to trade. So buying and selling stocks or bonds, $0 per trade, which is pretty amazing. Then we also have insurance companies that if you are more risk adverse and you say, hey Merle, I don't want my money to be in the markets, or I don't want all of my money to be in the markets, then we can shop around and see who's going to give you the best rates of return on your money. So again, who we serve here in specializing in the Drop program, we work with many law enforcement, firefighters, EMS, anybody that's high risk employees. And then we also work with school teachers, county employees, and anybody that's a part of the FRS in general. So pretty cool experience to be able to meet with and help so many people that are in this specific niche. And as you can see, we have a lot of clients here in the state of Florida, but also all around the United States. So we're large enough to have clients all around the United States because you have to hit a certain threshold in order to have clients in other states. So these are our clients here in the state of Florida. As you can see, a huge presence on the East Coast and also on the West Coast. We've been very blessed and fortunate to work with so many people around the state, really some amazing people. So this is the Retirement Masterclass. It's going to be going over the biggest concepts that you need to know about retirement, and we're also going to be giving you some really good details on like small niche things that you can do to improve your retirement. So first and foremost, part one is income, part two is protection, and part three is growth. So those are the three main keys for a successful retirement. If you don't have enough income, then you can't stay retired for very long. You'll have to go back to work because you don't have enough income. If you don't protect your assets enough, then an event like 2008 can wipe out your life savings. Also growth, if your money's not growing, as we know with inflation, the cost of everything keeps getting more and more and more. If your money's not working for you, then you'll have to probably go back to work as well. So as long as you have these three keys working for you, then again, you might be able to see here, successful retirement and you achieve your retirement goals. Part 1 is income and retirement and taxes in retirement and the future of taxes. First is income and retirement. So what's going to happen the last paycheck that your employer gives you, right? So you're working till, let's say, the end of this year, December 31st, and you get that last paycheck probably the middle of January, and then after that, what's going to happen? Where are you going to get your income from? Most people, especially everyone in the DROP program, has a pension plan to where they'll receive monthly income for the rest of their life, which is such an amazing thing. If you don't have a pension, then you're going to have to find where to pull that money from. But I want this to sink in that this is a big transition from getting paid twice a month to all of a sudden getting paid once a month, whether that's Social Security or your pension. And how are you going to maximize that? How are you going to be able to let that work for you to where you get income every single month and you're living the lifestyle that you want to live? So what we call this three-legged stool, which is Social Security, employer pension, and individual savings and investments. This is a three-legged stool to where most people, they have to have this income coming from somewhere. And so most people have Social Security as long as your employer paid into it. Most people in the DROP program, all people in the DROP program, have their employee pension. But for those that are not in the DROP program, maybe you're in the investment plan or maybe you're just in a 401k program, you're not going to have this pension. So how are you going to generate enough income? And most people, they have to get it from individual savings and investments. And that's where we like to help our clients with generating enough income. So again, those that are in the DROP program, you have Social Security pretty much automatically. Then you have your employer pension. But do you have enough individual savings and investments? That's a big question. Now, this is some good insight for everyone that's in the DROP program. Most people that we work with, we find that they retire from the DROP program and they actually have more take-home income than while they're working. So here's an example, just general numbers that your situation is going to be different, but let's say that your your take-home pay after taxes are $6,000, meaning that every 2 weeks you get directly deposited into your bank account $3,000. So that's $6,000 net per month. In retirement, let's say you have your Social Security, or let's say you have your pension, and let's say that's $5,500 per month. Then your pre-tax Social Security, $2,200 per month. And then your pre-tax interest and dividends, let's say if you're earning interest and dividends on your retirement money, let's say that's $1,000. Look at how with all the people in the DROP program, as long as you're retiring and maybe staying all 5 years or even going all 8 years if your situation calls for it, going from $6,000 to getting a pay raise, getting a pay increase in retirement, which is pretty phenomenal. And this is what we want for all of our clients, is that they go from working 30, 35 years, 40 years in a profession, and they want to know that their retirement is going to be good for them, right? And that's what we see with most people that finish the DROP program, is they get a pay raise in retirement. Now the question becomes how to become the best steward of your finances so you know that your retirement money is working for you. Social Security, we call it a gamble because nobody knows when's the best time to take it, right? It's a big question on longevity, right? If you told us, hey, in my family we don't have a lot of longevity, then it might be good to start taking Social Security as soon as possible, like 62. But if you say, hey, my family, we live forever, you know, we live to our 90s, 95, 100 years old, then it might be a good idea to maybe delay Social Security as long as you'd like. Here's a good break-even point to where you can tell if you take it at 62 versus 66 versus 70, what are the best times to take it? And at 62, you're actually winning by taking your Social Security early all the way until about 78 years old. And that's what we call a break-even point, is where waiting till 66 starts surpassing and actually benefiting you more. But really, 62, you're winning. You're getting more money from Social Security all the way until about 78 years old. And it's not a coincidence that the average age of death here in the United States is 78 years old, is because Social Security, they don't want you to try to get an upside on them. right? So that's the break-even point. So whether your situation calls for you taking it at 62 or waiting for a little bit, either way, it's good that you have that Social Security benefit, but talk with us and see when a good time would be to take Social Security. All right. Also, when it comes to Social Security, if you have questions about how much benefits you have to look forward to, make sure that you go to the government website, so .gov, and then you can insert your information and they'll give you the exact amount to look forward to put into your financial plan. Taxes and retirement. All right, let's see if this will work. Come on now.
Where's all your money going? Taxes. 9, 10, 11. We fixed my houses. It's okay. It's part of the game. No, it's not fun. It's not fun to what? It's the worst part of the game. Oh, it's what? Taxes.
So that's probably how we all feel, right? That's how we all feel about taxes. Nobody likes them. And if there's any way that you can reduce them now and in the future, then that's what we're going to want the best for you, right? We want you to keep more money in your pocket instead of going to the IRS. So let's talk about payroll tax when it comes to what is coming out of your paycheck every single 2 weeks or every single month. So you have FICA tax, you have federal income tax brackets, you have state income tax, and you have local tax. Well, the good thing about here in Florida is number 3 and number 4 are wiped off. But the reason we mention this is because if you say, hey, I'm going to retire from Florida and move to North Carolina or move to Georgia or anywhere around the United States that does have a state income tax, you need to factor that in to understand that that might be another burden on your retirement savings. So first and foremost, number 1, payroll tax is Social Security and Medicare. And that's the number 1 tax that comes out of your paycheck. And that's about 7.5% of taxes on all of your earned income. And so while you're working, you have this extra tax because it's earned income. And we're going to go into how that's different in retirement. Number 2, income tax brackets. So here in the United States, federal income tax brackets. Number 1, you have what's called a standard deduction, which most people take. I think 95% of people take the standard deduction because it's so high right now. For 2023, for married filing jointly, your first $27,000 of income is tax-free because it's a standard deduction. They reduce that off of your taxable income. So $27,000 is tax-free. That's your first $27,000. And then after that, this is how taxes work here in the United States. After that, your next dollar falls into the 10% tax bracket all the way up to $11,000. So then anything, well, let's say for married filing jointly, just because we're keeping it even, right? So first $22,000 is that 10% tax bracket, and then the $1 after that, the $1 after $22,000, then falls into the 12% tax bracket. Okay? Not all of your money then jumps into the 12% tax bracket. So the $1 over falls into 12%. If you make $90,000, then let's call it the $500 over is going to be in the 22% tax bracket. So how the tax system works is that you're actually filling up that bracket, that 10%, you're filling that up and then going into the 12%. And then filling that up and then going into 22. And then so on and so forth. So start your video, yes. Okay, perfect. So then when it comes to filling up these tax brackets, you are then over time going into a higher and higher tax bracket on your next dollars that you earn. So we had a great question yesterday, and we've got a couple questions that I need to go over because people were wondering about it. But one was that if you were to take $2,000 per month in income from your retirement funds, meaning let's call it your drop money, you roll over your drop money into a traditional IRA, and then when you retire, you say, hey, I'm going to take out $2,000 every single month. Well, how taxes work is that it's for a tax year. So for the year 2023, 2024, and so on. Is there a difference between taking $2,000 per month or taking $24,000 per year, right? And the numbers are the exact same, but they were wondering, hey, is there a difference between taking it monthly versus taking it as a lump sum? And the answer is there's no difference at all. There's no difference when it comes to taking it, monthly or taking it as a lump sum, just because here in the United States, taxes work that this is based on the year. And so let's call it that $24,000. That's going to, after let's call standard deduction, that $24,000 could fill up this bracket, or if you take $2,000 a month for the whole year and that adds up to $24,000, then that $24,000 is going to be at whatever bracket your income's at. So let's just say, for an example, you make $100,000 over the standard deduction. So in reality, it's about $127,000, right? But let's just say $100,000 based on this graph above that standard deduction. Your first $90,000 is going to be between the 10% and the 12%, but then the next $10,000 is going to be at the 22%. And then if you take $24,000 as a lump sum or monthly, you're going to keep filling up that 2% or that 22% tax bracket until about $190,000. So that's where instead of taking $24,000 for the year, if you took $90,000 for that year, you would fill up that 22% tax bracket. Does that make sense? Anybody, if that makes sense, give me a thumbs up or comment in the comment section that you understand this. Yeah, so this is how taxes work here in the United States. So, and if you guys have any questions and you want me to come back to it, then I'm more than happy to do that. All right, so let's go. So again, the great thing about being in the state of Florida is one of 7 states here in the United States that has 0% income tax, meaning that 0% is billed by the state of Florida. The only taxes you have to worry about is the United States, the federal income tax. So here's another good question. What taxes do you pay on retirement income? And that meaning pension, Social Security, pre-tax retirement accounts, okay? Is it number 1, or letter A, only federal income tax, B, only FICA taxes, C, only Florida state and local income tax, or D, Richmond, north of Richmond tax? All right, so anybody have an answer? Which letter would it be, A, B, C, or D? So the answer is A, and that's how when you're in retirement, you're actually saving on taxes already because you don't have to worry about payroll tax. You don't have to worry about paying into Social Security or Medicare anymore. So that's a 7.5% tax savings in retirement on your pension, Social Security, and your pre-tax retirement accounts, like your drop money. So that's a good thing to know that you only have to worry about federal income tax when it comes to your retirement income. All right. And of course, if you're in a different state, then this is going to be a different answer. You're going to have state, unfortunately, state tax. All right, next one, the future of taxes. So let's see if this is going to work. Yep, all right, perfect. So for any of those that can see my screen, you're going to see that the U.S. national debt is just ticking and ticking. It's just going up so fast, right? So when it comes to this, what are we going to do when the United States has to take care of this United States debt, right? Because there's only 2 ways that they can fix this problem. 1 is spending less money, or 2, raising taxes. So if there's a chat, if you can put in the chat or you can comment down below, go ahead and write in, what do you think the United States is going to do? Are they going to spend less money, or are they going to raise taxes? I see that people are chatting. So the good thing is, or unfortunately, the United States has to fix this problem at some point. And now with the United States, let's go back. Let's see if this will populate. Right here, these are the largest budget items for the United States. Number 1, Medicare, Medicaid. Number 2, Social Security. Number 3, Defense and War. And number 4, interest on debt, right? So the interest on this debt, you can see how that's climbing. In the next 2 to 3 years, the interest on our debt, on the majority of our debt, is going to now get reset, And if it gets reset at these extremely high interest rates, this could become number 3, number 2, or number 1 largest budget item for the United States. So that's what's scary. And this is what we need to understand, is that are they going to spend less money, or are they going to raise taxes? And probably most people are going to agree that number 2 is most likely, because it's so unknown what the tax system is here in the United States. If you've worked for 30 years, 35, 40 years, and they just take money out of your paycheck, and they do it before you even see any money, right? So unfortunately, they're probably going to raise taxes. These are tax rates throughout history. So the highest tax bracket throughout history, this is the graph. So you can see World War I, World War II, a lot of government spending. And you see that we're in a time period where we're actually pretty low. We're actually pretty low compared to historical norms. Now, what are future tax rates going to be? No one knows, right? But if we see that we're $33 trillion in debt, what might happen in the future? So one point that I want to make is that most people, well, actually I get into it in a couple slides, but we have to understand that your drop money is pre-tax. Your deferred comp money, most of it is probably pre-tax unless you chose the Roth version. But you need to know that at some point they're going to have to tax that money. So what's the best way to be a good steward of those finances so then you don't have a tax bomb later in life? All right, a little bit more history. When it comes to Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, this was put in place in 2017. It took effect 2018 through 2025. You can see that in the past, the tax rates went 10, 15, 25, 28. Then we've had this, let's call it 7-year period where tax rates were 10, 12, 22, and 24. You see how it reduced, how it's actually gone down over the past 7 years. We're in this period of time between now and 2025 that tax rates are low. Okay, now in 2026, this is supposed to sunset, meaning that the United States is supposed to sunset this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, and it's supposed to reverse back to our past rates, which again are 10, 15, 25, 28. So in my experience, and my understanding, and our team's experience, that what are future tax rates going to do if we're $33 trillion in debt and this bill sunsets, and now we have to go back to higher tax brackets, probably when you're starting your retirement years, which is unfortunate. We have to figure out your money. Let's just go ahead because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But where do 99% of people have their retirement money? And we just mentioned your drop money and your deferred comp. Well, most people have it in what's called tax deferred growth, meaning that let's say you're retiring with a drop of $500,000, and that $500,000 over the next 10 years becomes $1 million, right? $1 million in your drop. Wouldn't that be a great idea? Well, the thing is, now that $1 million is now 100% taxable, right? Because all that money that's grown is now taxable when you pull out that money. Whether you take out money from the drop program the day after you retire or 20 years down the road when you're deep into retirement, either way, that drop is taxable when you pull that money out. And so every year that your money is growing for you, your tax bill is becoming larger and larger and larger. And that's what we don't want. We want your money to grow, don't get me wrong, but if there's a way that you can have tax-free growth, then that would be an amazing thing to have. Again, and this is really the bottom line. If you're retiring with a drop or a deferred comp and you have, let's say, $500,000 in those accounts, and you say, hey, at some point I know I'm going to have to pay the taxes on it, well, why not take advantage of the next 2 or 3 years and say, hey, we're at these low tax brackets, let's do what's called Roth conversion strategies, meaning taking your traditional IRA money, because that's what your drop or your deferred comp will go into, traditional IRA money, convert it into Roth. Unfortunately, it hurts because we pay the taxes now on the money, but now that money is tax-free for the rest of your life, and it can grow, and all that growth is tax-free as well. Okay? If anybody has any questions, put them down below, because we do have parts where we're going to answer questions. So put any questions in the chat or in the comments, and we will make sure to address each and every one of those. So when it comes to doing Roth conversions, all you do is you take your traditional IRA accounts, you put it into after-tax Roth accounts, and that just means that that money, now if it grows from $500,000 to $1 million, then there's no taxes on the gains or when you pull that money out, which is amazing. So talk with your advisor. If your advisor isn't bringing this up, then make sure to bring it up with our team, because we can help do, and I'll tell you later, we'll do a tax map for you that shows what tax bracket you're in right now, what tax bracket you look like you'll be in retirement, and what would be the perfect amount to do a Roth conversion. All right, bonus information. Everyone loves bonus information. When the market crashes, convert your pre-tax dollars, your pre-tax retirement accounts, into after-tax Roth accounts, because you're taking that money when it's actually gone down. Let's say the middle of COVID, March of 2020, the market goes down 20% or 30%, and you take out that money and you convert it into a Roth account, invest it in the same exact investments, so then you get all the upside like we saw in April, May, June, July of 2020, where the market just shot back up. Now all of those dollars that you paid taxes on already, convert it into a Roth, all the upside is now tax-free. Isn't that quite amazing? So that's what we want to do for many of our clients, if not all of our clients, if they're interested in this type of extra due diligence and extra work. And we do all the work for them. It's just some people, they don't want to put in the effort, and I completely understand. When you're in retirement, it's more about relaxing and not having to worry about math and all this kind of stuff. But that's what we're here to do, is watch our computer screens all day to do what's best for our clients. So every year, convert money to a Roth account as long as it's keeping you in the same tax bracket. So if you're in the 12% tax bracket and you have $20,000 more that you could fill in that bracket and put it into a Roth IRA, so then now you did that Roth conversion on $20,000 and that money can now grow and be tax-free growth. That's what the second bullet point is talking about. All right, like we talked about, questions and answers. Does anybody have any questions or answers? All right. So it looks like this one. Do you have Roth retirement accounts? Does anybody have Roth or no Roth accounts? So if you do have a Roth, click yes. If you don't have a Roth, click no. And I'll tell you that the majority of people do not have Roth accounts because it's not something that the financial institution really comes out and preaches on. But my goal and my passion is for people to be good stewards of their finances, and I think everyone should have a Roth IRA account, even if it's minimal. All right, so it looks like the answers are in, and you might be able to see on the screen. We have 1 out of 4 saying 25% yes, they have a Roth, so congratulations to them. Number 2, no, is half of the people, and then 1 is unsure. So pretty much split today, but only 1 is yes, and then the 3 are either unsure or no. So that's a good, let's see, did anything change? Okay, share results. Okay, good. And again, those answers are 100% confidential. Actually, the system of Zoom, there's a setting that you can select, and it says, make sure that all answers are confidential, and that's the option that we have for all these quizzes. So feel free to understand that, because we work with confidentiality 100% of the time. So another question that I got from someone is, when is the best age to retire? So this is a good question. It's a common question because we talked about Social Security. You can start taking Social Security at 62. So that might be one good age if you are wanting to take Social Security, because if you retire before that, you might only have your pension, right? Or you might only have your retirement savings. The next age is 65, because not only can you turn on Social Security at that age, but also you can start taking Medicare at 65. So if you retire pre-65, you have to get either COBRA or you have to get some pre-65 health insurance, which is very costly. You know, nowadays it might be $600, $700, $800. I've seen it as high as $1,000 a month. So if you can wait till 65, then that's amazing, because you can then get your Social Security and jump onto Medicare. And of course, the longer you work, the better, just because your retirement is looking better and better every month that you stay employed. So, all right, so that was good. Any other questions? Let me check down here. Hey, Massimo, any questions? Or
Can
you?
you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Have you already?
Amy just asked, if you can hear me all right, Amy just asked, which would be less taxed, using money from a 403B/457 or taking a lump sum before drop rollover?
Okay, great question. So with the 457, with the 403B, and with the drop money, as long as the 403B and the 457 are classified as pre-tax retirement accounts, so they're pre-tax qualification, then all three are going to be the same exact taxes across the board. Whether you take money from your 457, 403B, or your drop money, it's all going to add to those tax brackets and get your taxes to be a little bit higher the more money that you take down that schedule. So hopefully that answers that question. There's no preference on the 403B, 457, or drop/traditional IRA. Those are all classified as pre-tax retirement accounts, and they're all taxed the exact same way. There was something else I was going to say. So the good question that you are probably also thinking is, well, is there any way to be smart about it whenever I'm taking out a lump sum? So a big question we get is, hey, I'm going to remodel my kitchen. Hey, we're going to do some construction on the house. We need $50,000 or $25,000 or whatever it is. Let's just say $50,000. Well, if we have clients that are coming to us right now and saying, hey, I need $50,000, well, we'll say, hey, could we send you $25,000 now, and then in January send you the other $25,000, because that's a completely new tax year. Does that make sense? So since it's a completely new tax year, you are now divvying it up against two different tax years and not just taking out a huge lump sum out of 1 year. So that's probably another good piece of information that a lot of people like to hear. So thumbs up, comment down below if you do have any other questions. All right, let's do this. All right, and so when it comes to, I want to try to get that out of the way. Oh well. All right, number 2, protection. So we're talking about protection in this segment. We already talked about income. Hopefully you got a lot of value from that. Now it's on to protection. Number 2, protection. So we have suitability, market volatility, what causes crashes to happen, and inflation, okay? First, suitability. So here's a pretty powerful story that I have. So I had some people come to me and they said, hey Merle, we're not currently clients, but I want your advice and your honest opinion. And so I said, absolutely. So they showed me statements of what their financial advisor has them invested in. And I said, okay, what were your goals with this account? What was your risk tolerance? And how soon are you going to be retiring? And they said, we're pretty soon going to be retiring in the next 12 months. We told them that we were conservative and want to be safe. And number 3, did they talk with their advisor about kind of their goals about that money? And the client said that they do want to take out some of that money when they do retire, so they wanted to be more safe and secure. Well, they brought in a statement to our office. We reviewed the statement, and we were in our next meeting that they came into the office. We shared with them that what our findings were: 1, they were paying too much in fees, but 2, they were in terrible investments. And the reason I say that is, has anybody heard of penny stocks? So penny stocks are investing in a company that is extremely, extremely small, or a startup, meaning like it just started 3 months ago or 6 months ago. It's not even an established business, and they were investing their retirement money in these penny stocks. And so in that meeting I said, hey, you shared with your advisor your goals, right? To be conservative, to be safe, and that you were going to be retiring soon, right? And they said, yeah, we shared with him the whole thing and wanted his opinion because we trusted him. And I shared with them how much of their portfolio was in these penny stocks. And they were concerned about this because the market was crashing at that time, and they saw that those penny stocks were really losing value fast. And I said, these are terrible investments for what you're looking for and what your goals are and what your risk tolerance is. And they were just surprised at what they found out from us doing a simple review. So if you have any accounts that you want us to review and see, 1, what you're paying in fees, 2, what are you really invested in, then we're more than happy to review that for you, and there's no cost for that. We also have a secure upload link, so we can send you a secure upload link if you want to upload that statement, and then we can securely review that for you and then give you our feedback. And I've been doing that a lot this past week. So, because the markets have had a lot of volatility this year, right? So that's pretty much suitability. Understand what you want to be invested in. Understand really what you're invested in. Is it stocks, bonds, real estate, mutual funds, municipal bonds, anything, right? So understand what you want to be invested in and what your goals are. Next one, market volatility. So everyone probably recognizes this guy, right? So Warren Buffett, probably one of the longest going investors of all time. So the stock market is a device for transferring money from the inpatient to the patient, right? And that makes total sense, because if you get impatient and you either jump out of the market or you jump all in the market and you're trying to time the market, that's where your money is being transferred to the people that are being patient. What if I told you that the stock market over the past 150 years just went vertical like this, just over time went up and up and up over time, right? How would you feel about the market? Wouldn't you be excited? So, of course, everyone would say, hey, I'll just invest my money in the stock market because it's doing this straight up and vertical over time, right? There's no volatility. Well, in reality, that same direction, that same vertical direction is what the S&P 500 has done over the past 150 years. And this is another reason why Warren Buffett is worth so much money, is because he's had 150 years to invest over this time period, right? Jokingly, but you can see that there are great times to be invested over the 150 years, but when is the start of your retirement? When are you going to receive that drop check in the mail that says, hey, this is my drop money? Are you going to be investing during a time period where the market is pretty much flat for 20 years and negative? Are you going to be investing in a time period where the market has some great volatility, which scares so many people, and we want to help our clients avoid that type of volatility? There's this inflation bear market from 1970 to 1990. You can see that there was a lot of volatility. Or most people remember, because it's more of modern history, the lost decade from 2000, that was when the tech bubble crashed, 2008, additional crash, 2000 and 2020, you can see that during this time period, this was a lost decade, 10 years of just going nowhere. And so you probably remember people coming back to work because they didn't want to touch their retirement savings because it had crashed during this time period. So what time are you going to be retiring at? And that's where, if you can invest for the long term, then the market is going to do amazing work for you and help you increase your life savings. But if you retire during these tough time periods, do you have anybody that personally is watching your investments and making sure that they're not going to get swiped away with the markets, just like so many people have seen in 2000, 2008, even 2020, the market crashed for COVID, right? But just make sure that you're working with someone that understands your situation and knows what's suitable for you. Next, what causes crashes to happen? So, the good thing is, this is very relevant. This is what everyone is noticing or hearing about in the news. This is the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates. If we go back over the past 70 years, you can see that anytime that the interest rates have been increased by the Federal Reserve, which handles our policy here in the United States for interest rates, anytime that interest rates get brought up, then a gray bar happens. Then interest rates come up and a gray bar happens. So Merle, what are these gray bars? Well, these gray bars are actually when a recession happens. So these are indications of when a recession happened. You can see even COVID, for a very quick 6 months, was in a recession, and that's that gray bar. Remember 2008 we just mentioned, 2001 we just mentioned with the tech bubble. Anytime that the Fed has been raising rates dramatically, there's been a gray bar, and that's what a recession is. Now, over here, this is where we're at today. Well, let's not say today. August 28th, 2023, so a month and a week ago. Look how fast we've raised rates over the past 18 months, right? How dramatic that's been. So what's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months? It might be a gray bar. So are you set up for that? Is your retirement savings set up for that? Again, over the past 70 years, there's been 10 recessions. So that equals every 7 years, one recession happening. For you guys that are about to retire in the next 6 months, 12 months, couple years out, you have to understand if you're going to have a long retirement, if your retirement is going to be 20, 30 years, how many recessions are you going to have to go through? Because that just happens in the markets, right? So this is another emphasis on make sure you don't sit it and forget it in some type of retirement account and hope for the best. Make sure that someone is helping you and managing those assets with you to know that your money is not going to crash like 2001, 2008 as bad because you have someone holding your hand through those time periods and saying, hey, I think we need to go into bonds more. Hey, we need to go into stocks more. Hey, we should go into guaranteed contracts at this time, right? So that's what we're here to do, is talk with all of our clients. For those people, I'll just put my money in the bank. I don't want to lose. Well, right now, that seems like a good idea because interest rates are so high, you can earn 4 5% on your money, right? Because that's what banks are paying right now. But if you look back throughout history, and we probably know, the past 15 years since 2008, interest rates have been at 0.5% or even 1%. So your bank savings was pretty much making zero. Now, can your retirement handle 0% increases on your money? Nobody can because of inflation, and that's what we're about to go into. Also, for 457s and 403bs, if you're a part of these plans, you might know that some of your plans offer a fixed rate, okay? Well, fixed rates actually don't really mean very fixed because you can see this is just an example of one department that the fixed rates were at 4.1% back in 2019, and now over the next 4 or 5 years, they're now less than 2.35%, and the minimum rate is going to be 1%. So can your retirement handle not making very much money on your retirement funds? And that's a risk that you guys have to really equate and say, hey, do I want my money in my 457, 403b, or do I want to look at other places like Charles Schwab right now? CDs and treasuries are paying 5%, 5.4%, which is pretty incredible. And that was another question someone had. What's the best interest rates right now? So treasuries, U.S. treasuries, backed by the United States government, are paying about 5.4%, which is pretty amazing. CDs are paying about the same. So if you want FDIC insurance, that CD, up to $250,000 for someone single, up to $500,000 for married couples. So that might be something that you want to look into. And at the end of this presentation, we're going to talk about if you're interested in those rates, we're more than happy to help with that. Inflation. So the next one is inflation. Over the past 62 years, 3.8% per year is what people have experienced in inflation, the cost of living going up over time. So, now when it comes to your retirement money, if you're living on $50,000 per year right now, $50,000, how much is that same lifestyle going to cost in 20 years, in 25 years? That same lifestyle that you're living right now on $50,000 is going to be $104,000 in 25 years. Meaning that 25 years from now, that same lifestyle is going to now double in cost. Just the same lifestyle. So that's what you need to factor in and understand for your retirement. Inflation on health insurance. So for family coverage and for single coverage, you can see over the past 23 years, it's gone from $5,700 to over $22,000, right? So health insurance is extremely expensive, and this is one of the largest concerns for most people that are retiring pre-65. Now, for Medicare, for people retiring at 65 or later, you can hop on Medicare, but Medicare is not this 100% gift, right? You have to pay that monthly premium, and it was $54 per month, now over $170. So this is just to drive down the point that you need to make sure that your money is working for you so you can keep up with the cost of living. Bonus information, more bonus information. For people that are still working, I would recommend that you go talk with your HR department or your benefits department and say, hey, the health insurance coverage that I'm on, do I qualify for a health savings account, an HSA? And they'll either say yes or no. And if they say no, you can say, hey, for this next year, I want to be on a plan that allows for an HSA. An HSA is an account that is even better than a Roth IRA. And the reason I say that is because an HSA, the money you put into that account is a tax deduction. It's taken off of your income for that year. The next thing is it grows tax-free. Third thing is when you take the money out, it is tax-free when you pull the money out if it's used for health care costs. If it's used for going to the doctor or prescription medicine or in-home care, anything that is health related, you can swipe your HSA card and it'll pay for any of those health care needs that you have. HSA is a great option. Roth IRA, HSA, two of the best options out there. So, crazy statistic, for those people over 65 years of age, 70% of them are going to need long-term care during their lifetime for at least a year. 70% are going to need long-term care for at least a year. And what that means is that for women, typically, they will need long-term care for 3.7 years, for men 2.2 years, right? You women are stronger than we are, right? So you guys need to understand that for long-term care, 3 to 4 years needs to be kind of set aside to say, hey, I know that I'm going to need long-term care when I get to a certain age. What is that going to cost? An average cost of nursing home per year, $92,000. It's incredible. It's crazy. It's terrible, right? So how can you factor in long-term care costs now so then your retirement, you know that it's already set up for you at that age that you need it? Next thing, Warren Buffett again, right? So if anybody likes Warren Buffett, do a thumbs up or say something in the chat. So the Noah rule, what it means is that predicting rain doesn't count. Knowing that these long-term care costs are going to happen doesn't count. Knowing that the cost of living is going to go up doesn't count. Knowing that the markets are going to have volatility over time doesn't count. Building ARCs do, or building ARCs does. Meaning that you need to have an ARC for your retirement to be able to get into and know that not only do you know that these things are going to happen in the future, but that you're putting your best hope or your best luck into the future, meaning that your money is working for you, that your income is growing over time. And so we at Swan Retirement Strategies, we build ARCs for our clients. We say, hey, here is this beautiful ARC. It's going to get through the storm. It's going to weather the storm. All you have to do is get in and be ready for the ride, right? Because we put all these understandings in place in that ARC, knowing that our clients are going to need long-term care sometime, knowing that they need income into the future and growing income. And so that's what we do here at Swan Retirement Strategies. Next question. So for the next question, I've got one question that someone said. What are some of the extra sources of income in retirement? We have self-funded pension plans. So if you don't have a pension, you can create a self-funded pension plan. And that's something that we offer to our clients. The second thing is dividends and interest. So if you've ever invested in great companies, blue chip dividend paying companies like Apple, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, any of those great big companies, they pay you dividends every single month or every single quarter, right? So that's an extra form of income in your retirement years is dividends and interest. Also, if you have rental properties, that could be a good source of income as well, rental income. But you have to understand that you're going to need to work for that income, right? Because the AC goes out, the plumbing goes out, there's termites in the house, whatever happens. But those are the three best sources of income: self-funded pension plans, dividends and interest, and rental income if you're willing to work. All right, number 3, growth. We're almost at the finish line. So growth, how to grow your retirement savings. When it comes to retirement and investing, you might feel like it is going down a grocery store with 40,000 different items all over the place, because that's what the financial industry does. They overcomplicate the financial investments that people can invest in into 40,000 different products that you can think of, right? So instead of stocks, bonds, real estate, and guaranteed contracts, they have all these mutual funds. They have all these rental property funds. They have all these self-directed IRAs that you can put into real estate, but then it locks up your money for even longer, right? So there's so many different products that it kind of feels overwhelming. Well, what we like to do is simplify things into the 4 investment categories. You have stocks, bonds, real estate, and guaranteed contracts. Stocks are part ownership of a business, meaning that you own part of the business. Number 2, bonds, you're lending your money out and receiving interest in return, like a CD. You give the money to the bank. They give you CDs and interest, and then at the end of the 1 year or however long the CD is, you get the interest from those bonds, right? That's what a bond is. Real estate, you could own lands, buildings, or a real estate fund like a REIT, real estate investment trust, and those are ways to invest in real estate. Then you have guaranteed contracts where the risk is taken off your shoulders and put onto the insurance company. Right now, for any of those that are in the 457 or 403B, those are pretty much all managed by insurance companies. And what they're doing is by offering you that fixed rate account of 2%, 3%, 4%, they're giving you a guaranteed contract. They're saying, hey, we're going to pay you this much interest. And even if the stock market goes up 20%, you don't get any of that, but you get the interest that your account's in, right? So another good way to look at it, you have stocks or companies, because if you invest in 1 share of Apple, you're now part owner of Apple. Does that make sense? So you own 1 share of Apple or Microsoft or Johnson & Johnson. Now you're a part owner of those companies. So that's what a stock is. If they pay you a dividend, then that would be what the company pays you, is every month or every quarter, you're getting a dividend from those investments. Next, bonds or fixed income. You can do CDs, you can do money markets, you can do US Treasuries, right? We already talked about that. You lend your money out and they give you interest in return, okay? Real estate, we all know real estate because you might own your house or you might own rental properties. And then guaranteed contracts, you have fixed annuities, fixed index annuities, or variable annuities. Variable annuities, I'll just give you some insight, in my opinion, are the worst thing out there. So if you have a variable annuity and you want us to review it, we'll be more than happy to show you all the fees that they put in those variable annuities. Next thing, what makes each different? So stocks, remember this graph, this is the S&P 500. You're investing in 500 of the largest companies in the United States, and that's what you can see over time that your investment has grown to if you've invested for a long time. Pros are you can generate growth and income if the company is paying you a dividend. The cons are the company can go bankrupt or you can lose money in owning those stocks, right? The stocks can go down in value. So those are cons. Bonds are based on interest rates. Remember this graph, we talked about the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates over time. So your bonds are going to be based on what the interest rate is during the time that you sign up for a bond, right? So again, what did we say over these 15 years? Let's say 2010 or 2009 to 2022, right? Where bonds were paying pretty much zero, right? Maybe your retirement isn't best to have a significant portion in bonds because they might pay very, very little over your retirement years. Pros are they generate income from interest. The cons are no appreciation. So if you give $100 to the bank and it's a CD and it's at 5%, well, at the end of the year, they give you your $100 back and the $5 of interest, okay? There's no appreciation of the CD. Does that make sense? Okay, so most bonds, there's no appreciation if you hold it all the duration of the bond. Whoever is backing the bond can go bankrupt and you can lose money in bonds. Real estate, so you could do residential or you could do commercial, right? Commercial or residential, but understand that real estate moves very slowly, meaning that if you look back all the way, let's call it 40 years, you can see that it typically moves very, very slowly. Then there was a spike and then a crash, but you can see from 2006 to 2016 that, right, there was 10 years of you didn't grow at all, right? So real estate is very illiquid. You can't get your money out very easily. And two, it is you have all these maintenance costs. So even if your house, 2006 to 2016, broke even, you still have had costs over those 10 years of taxes, termites, toilets, and tenants, right? Commercial real estate is the same exact, it just typically moves a little bit faster. Pros are long-term appreciation, meaning that it can go up in value over time. Cons are, again, the 4 T's that I mentioned, 4 T's, termites, tenants, toilets, and taxes, right? All of those can be extremely high costs for people if they own rental properties. So termites, you might have to get your house tinted. Tenants, you could have bad tenants that destroy the place. I've had 2 clients in the past 3 months tell me that their rental properties, they're trying to get out of them because the tenants just destroyed the place and left. And that's got to be frustrating because that's your life savings in that investment property. Toilets, they call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, the toilet's overflowing, right? Nobody likes that. And taxes, I don't know what your situation looks like, but here in Sarasota, Florida, taxes have jumped up extremely high. It's becoming so unaffordable for so many people, right? So taxes, we have to understand that property is going to cause taxes every single year. You have to pay those taxes and you can lose money. Guaranteed contracts, remember we talked about fixed index or variable. Well, right off the bat, variable is off the chart because those, in my opinion, are the worst things out there. The worst things created by the financial industry ever are variable annuities, in my opinion, okay? The next things, fixed annuities, these work like CDs. So if you give an insurance company that $100 for a fixed annuity and they say, hey, our interest rate is 6% because maybe it's a little bit higher than CDs, well, then that's a good way for you to earn interest because those are guaranteed by that insurance carrier. Then indexed, meaning fixed index annuity, this is linked to an index. And what that means is that over time, you can have, this is the S&P 500, this red graph, and you can see 2000, 2001, remember that crash, and then 2008 financial crisis that happened. This is the S&P 500 over people's retirement years. This green line is what's called a fixed indexed annuity. And I'll tell you, 95% of these annuities are terrible, but there are 5% that can be a good complement to your retirement plan if it makes sense for you, right? And so that's what we do for our clients is we want the absolute best for each and every one of our clients. We are not biased in any way. What we'll do, since we're dual licensed, we help with investments and we help with insurance. We'll say, hey, these are the different options. What do you think is best for you? And they say, okay, I like this and I like this, or I just like investments, or I just like insured guaranteed contracts, right? So everyone has a choice to be able to do the due diligence and find out what is best for your situation. But you can see over this time period of 14 years, the green, which is the fixed index annuity, it participated in the upside, and then when the market crashed, your account didn't go anywhere. It stayed level. Then when the market was doing well, your account did well, and then when the market crashed, you stayed level. And so in the end, the green line won during this time period because they didn't experience any of the downside risk. So this might be something that is good for a portion, a small portion of your money, or a large portion of your money if you're extremely risk adverse and you don't want anything to do with this red line. The pros are long-term appreciation and or guaranteed income. And then if set up correctly, there's no market downside risk. Again, if it's set up correctly, and that's what we do at Swan Retirement Strategies, help you set it up correctly. Cons, generally, guaranteed contracts are 10 years long. Some are 5 years long, some are 7, some are 10, some are 12, some are 15. The longer you let the insurance company operate with your money, meaning that you're investing it into whatever funds they have, the longer duration that you allow them to work with it, the better participation of the upside they'll give you. So, 50% of the upside, 70% of the upside, there's contracts out there that allow 100 or 200% of the upside. So everything is different, but that's what we do. We shop around to find what's best for your situation. So you might have seen this as well. So there's a difference between protection and gambling. And investing is right in the middle. So protection meaning that, hey, could you be too protected for retirement? Could you have too much in cash or money markets or fixed annuities? Maybe that's too protected, right? Or you could have investments, which are like bonds or ETFs or individual stocks, which are good investments over time. Gambling might be, you've probably heard of crypto or commodities or options, right? That, in our opinion, is gambling. So for your retirement money, you probably shouldn't gamble with very much, if any, of your retirement money. But the exceptions to this graph are high risk and low return, in our opinion, are mutual funds and variable annuities. So when it comes to our clients, any of these mutual funds that are out there that charge extremely high expenses, so if you work with any of the big names that are on all the big skyscrapers around the United States, especially here in Florida, you see any of the banks. Any bank, they're going to put you, what I've seen in most of the people that bring me their statements and say, hey, what do you think about what we're invested in? All these big banks, and I'll name a few. So, okay, I probably won't name a few. But if you call me and want to know, I'll tell you which ones are the worst. But there are all these big name companies out there that put their clients in high cost mutual funds, which are terrible for them. And they won't go anywhere for 10 or 20 years. They'll stay level. And the client, unfortunately, doesn't know what these mutual funds are actually invested in and how much the fees are. So that's what we like to be transparent and let you understand what are in these accounts. So any mutual funds that you're invested in, I would be highly cautious. And variable annuities, I would run away as fast as possible. Don't be treated like a number in retirement.
Lean forward, please.
What is this?
It's our new customer tracking system. It has your account number and barcode. Speeds you right to the line.
No, what?
That line up there.
I feel like banks are getting a bit impersonal.
It's a holdup.
That one of these things don't scan.
All right, so that is a funny video that is how many people feel with these large institutions. You just feel like a number, right? They say, hey, when you call their 1-800 number and they have to verify you 100 times to be able to talk with you. Or what I'll tell you is most people that finish the drop program and they're in these 457 or these 403B companies, the forms that you have to fill out to try to pull money from those accounts to access those funds, the stack of paperwork is this big. Just to be able to access your own money, and the questions on there are insulting. You have to answer, why are you taking your own money from the account, right? And we don't think that's right. So for many of our clients, they don't want to feel like a number with these 457 or these 403B companies, having to fill out paperwork every time you want to access your own money. With us and Charles Schwab, if you call us and you say, hey, I need $10,000 or $20,000, we send it to you the next couple days automatically, and it goes directly to your bank account. You don't have to fill out anything or do anything. I had a client 2 weeks ago that texted me and said, hey, call me when it's convenient. I need some retirement money. And I said, okay. So I called her right away and I said, hey, what's going on? And she said, hey, I need $4,000 for this or for that. And I said, okay. Do you want it, as soon as possible? And she said yes. And I said, all right, we'll get it going and it'll be there within the next 2 or 3 days. And she said, wow, it is so nice working with you guys because I can call you, talk with someone that I know understands my situation and what my goals are. You're going to be honest with me and say, hey, if I'm taking out too much money and I'm putting myself at risk in retirement, then you're going to let me know, right? At the end of the day, it's the client's money. So if they want to take it all out, that's perfectly fine. But we just want to do what's best for each of our clients and have that family connection to where it's like calling a friend or a family member. Last thing, what are your retirement goals? So for many people in retirement, they want to be on the water, right? Here in Florida, one of the best states ever, you have water on all sides. And so is this one of your retirement goals? Just sitting on a beach and relaxing, maybe going on some cruises? Or is your goal to travel around the world? This is probably one of our #1 goals that our clients have, is they want to go to Italy or they want to go to Paris. Another client yesterday just told me they're going to Paris the beginning of next year. So there's all these amazing trips that you need to plan for and put in your financial plan to know that your situation allows you to do all this and have the flexibility and know that you're not going to run out of money. And so many of my clients, they want to go to a log cabin and be away from everyone, right? Your whole career, maybe 30, 35, 40 years of your career, you've probably helped people because you are a nice person and you're there to help people during those working years. Maybe in retirement, you want to be in a cabin and not have to worry about answering questions for people, right? And so this is another goal that many of our clients have. Or you want to become a professional babysitter. So just like I mentioned in the beginning, we have a newborn, right? He's 2 to 3 months old. And my mother-in-law, she's like, hey, she's in the DROP program. And she's like, hey, when I retire, I'm going to become a professional babysitter. I'm going to become a professional grandmother, right? And so she's going to watch the baby and help him grow up over time. Or you might want to give back to society or pay it forward to those that are less fortunate, right? So a lot of us have charitable ambitions, and that might be something that needs to be in your financial plan. So in this whole masterclass, we've really gone over every aspect that you need to know for retirement, which is income, protection, and growth. And so the first, which is income, you can see these are the categories that we went over for each of these categories. And at this point, I'm happy to announce that we are finally finished our journey. So we've gone through income, protection, and growth, and now we have finished. And now the next step is you deciding, hey, I'm ready for a successful retirement and for you to achieve your retirement goals. Here are some key takeaways. One is income in retirement is the most important thing. So income allows you to retire and stay retired forever as long as you have enough income coming in. The next thing is future tax rates might be higher. They're likely to be higher because the United States is so in debt. The next thing is Roth conversion strategies are a great way to reduce your future taxes as long as your money is growing. So if your money is growing in your retirement years, Roth conversions could be a great way to reduce your future tax burden. The next thing is investment strategies that you need to be in to understand that the cost of living is going to go up and your money needs to be growing as well. Make sure your investments are suitable for you and that they're the right things for you and you understand what you're invested in. The last thing is have a financial plan to achieve your retirement goals and your dreams. So bonus prizes, here are some bonus prizes. So for everyone that attends this Zoom or anybody that shows interest in this video, you can get your own income and expense worksheet. Because remember in the beginning, we were talking about, hey, how much income do you have coming in right now while you're working versus how much income will you have net of taxes in retirement? And so this is number one step to figure out where you're at right now and where you'll be in retirement is this income and expense worksheet. The next thing, which is a free bonus, is an estate planning checklist. So you can see Swan Retirement Strategies. This is a checklist for your estate to know that if something bad happens to you, your beneficiaries are in a good situation and they know how to handle everything. Unfortunately, in my family, we had a sudden death of a family member and he didn't have his estate plan put in place. It was kind of all over the place and it put a lot of burden on the family because we had to try to look for where accounts are where and what all is happening, you know, and that probate process is very expensive and lengthy. So understand that if you need an estate plan checklist, that's something that we're providing also free of charge. But wait, there's more. If you have, first, if you're in the DROP program, so you already get a free pass at this. But our clients are typically, if you have investable assets of over $300,000, and if you schedule a meeting, you'll get these bonus items. And the reason that there is that threshold of $300,000 or more is because all of these tax strategies that we talk about, all the tax strategies, the Roth conversions, you know, being in the right investments, those are best suitable for people with $300,000 or more in retirement assets. If you're retiring and you have $1 to your name, how are we going to do any tax strategies, right? So as long as you have $300,000 or more for retirement, then we can help you with all these tax strategies. And that's what you get if you qualify and you schedule a meeting with us. So first thing, extra value. Typically, this financial plan runs about $1,000 to $3,000. So it depends on how intense your situation is and how many details are making up your financial plan. But typically, being $1,000 to $3,000, you get this absolutely free if you sign up for a meeting with us and you qualify. So this is showing net worth and this is showing income. What are your charts going to look like? And that's what we'll put together for you at no cost at all. The last thing, remember, for those people that are interested in Roth conversions and figuring out where is my income based on all those income brackets, this will show your tax map. What money is tax-free, 0%? What money is at 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%? Where do you fall on the tax spectrum now and when you're in retirement? And there are ways that you can do Roth conversions while you're still working. So let's talk and figure out what your plan looks like. And this is another free extra value that we provide for those people that qualify. Again, for this presentation, you get the income and expense worksheet, the tax map, the financial plan, and the estate worksheet. So I'm going to be sending out an email here soon with the income and expense and the estate planning worksheet. But then these other two, you have to call us or schedule a meeting with us, and we'll do all the work for you. All right, so this is the last slide. This is, again, Swan Retirement Strategies, Sleep Well at Night. This is, if you want to look at our website, we have an amazing website with a lot of details that you can research. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. This would help us a lot because we're trying to reach more people to give all this great information, because most financial firms are hiding this from the common knowledge of the United States. So follow us on these because we have great videos that we're putting out every single week. And then when it comes to where to follow us on these platforms, everywhere it is at Swan Retirement Strategies. So that's where, if you type in at Swan Retirement Strategies, that'll pop up. For the contact information, which is over here, if you get your phone and you go on your camera and you hold it up to that QR code, it will allow you to download my personal contact information. And so that will download my contact information, and you can text me or you can call me and schedule a meeting with our team. I'll get out of the way. I'll come over here. And so if you want the contact information, hold up your phone and highlight that with your phone and click on the screen. If you're more interested in going ahead and scheduling a meeting, you can QR code this. You can hold up your phone and scan that code, or you can screenshot this screen and it'll come up later. But you can schedule a meeting. It'll go directly onto our calendar, and we can help give you the best information about your retirement and if you have any goals or needs that need to be accomplished now while you're still working. Again, my name is Merle Winter. We are a team of fiduciaries, meaning that our clients' interests come first above everything else, and we're held to a higher legal standard when it comes to the financial industry. So make sure if you're working with someone that they're a fiduciary and they have your best interests at heart, and in my opinion, that they don't just put you into mutual funds or any of these variable annuities. I want to thank everyone for being here, and if we have any other questions, I'm more than happy to go over those questions at this point. And yeah, extremely excited for everyone that was on this call.